Well, hello everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Vacation Rental Insider. Today we have guest Breck Rubin from DirectStay. Welcome, Breck.
Yeah, thank you, Michael. Super excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Awesome. Where are you calling in from today?
Actually calling from Sandy, Oregon, so the West Coast.
Awesome.
Yeah.
And is that where the majority of your customers and clients are, or are you all over the
Yeah, we're
nation?
we're, we're nationwide, all throughout the US and just about every state. I think we've got a couple of places in Alaska and Hawaii and things like that. So just about everywhere.
Fantastic. And so why don't you tell the audience just a little bit about what DirectStay is? And, I know you're really kind of changing the game of what it is to be a platform. And maybe you can just dive into what makes you unique and why DirectStay.
Yeah, thanks so much. So basically direct stay, Michael, it came from actually I'm a host myself, been a host for the last 8 years in the short-term rental market. And it came from just a lot of experience and pain points that my wife and I went through as hosts. We have two properties and I think in building relationships with other hosts, we found out that they were having a lot of the same pain points, and we said, well, why don't we, whenever there's a pain somewhere, there's always an opportunity to be able to provide a solution. I think that's the simplest form of business, right? Being able to provide solutions for people and helping them that way. So basically, a lot of what Direct Stay was founded on was some core principles, and those core principles are freedom, empowerment, true ownership, and those things equaling having a real business and really owning your business. So, what we wanted to do, Michael, was help host build assets and something that is of lasting value. And we realized that really a true asset is something that you own. And we found out that when we worked with the other platforms and things like that, that we didn't, even though we had properties, we really didn't own our business. And so, we decided to really look at all these things and build a ecosystem that hosts and guests could really have the freedom to be able to work together from day one and to have a great experience on the guest side, and the host to do very well and be able to run their business the way that they really want to run it, and we want to help them to be able to facilitate those things. And so that's how Direct Stay got started, was really just wanting to make a distinction and do things a different way than the way they've been operating for such a long time. So, I think that, if you look at, I was thinking about this, if you look at the platforms that are out there now, Michael, they're really like the old days where it's like the phone book, where you had a phone book delivered to your front door.
Yeah.
And if you needed to find a business or you need to find an individual, you had to go through all these pages to find them. And then that was really the only way that you could find a business locally or find somebody you're looking for. And so it was
hmm
dependent on that one book. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to empower hosts to be found distinctly in the marketplace, Michael. That's the big distinction about Direct Stay. And Direct Stay is America's host powered direct booking platform. That's what we have branded ourselves as. We're very pro host, and it's very important to us that they have the freedom and empowerment to do very well and to operate according to the way that they want to do things.
I see that. Yeah. It seems like you're really challenging the status quo of how operators and owners might list their property and have a distribution model. I know one of the things that you're doing is helping them be the merchant of record. So, talk to me about how that's different and helps them build true assets and keeps them away from essentially being an employee of one of these major platforms.
Yeah, great question. This is really an important thing for hosts out there, is that it's really important to understand being a merchant of record. And I'll give you some examples. So the main platforms out there, the Airbnb, the VRBO, even the payment processing companies like Stripe and so forth, these are big names. They are what's considered the merchant of record. And what that means is they control all the transactions, they control the money and those type of things. So they are the business or the merchant that is of record that is in control of the operating transactions. And so what we wanted to do is we wanted to empower each host to be a merchant of record, meaning that because it's their business, we believe that if you own the business, that you should be able to control your money. I mean, if you go to, the local cafe and talk to the owner there, no matter where that is in the U.S., they have full control over their money, their income, their transactions. And so we thought that that was very important. I will tell you this, Michael, that we had more pushback on being able to bring that to the marketplace than anything else. And I believe that any time that you are focused on bringing freedom for an individual to the marketplace, that there's always going to be some type of pushback on that, because when we start to really get down into the nuances of these things, we're really talking about, coming out from the control of big entities and being able to operate the way that you see fit. And so we got a lot of pushback. We didn't give up, and we just knew that this was our vision, and that we needed to find the right partner that was going to help us to, make this a reality. And we did. And so now the process is that, a host will be able to have their own merchant of record, means their own payment processing. They control all their transactions. The nice thing about this is they, instead of waiting on somebody else to decide, Michael, when you get paid, they get paid right away within 24 to 48 hours, which is a big thing because, the transactions that are happening on DirectStay, that money is not DirectStay's. That's actually our transactions are happening between our hosts and our guests. So we don't want to take control of any of that money. We want to empower them to get it as quickly as possible. And so that is a big distinction for us in the marketplace. I think it's very important for hosts to consider, because, I think that, once we think about and really realize what's happening, is that most people, Michael, is very important. Most people have traded their authority for convenience. And there's a heavy price for that. So what we wanted to do is give that back to the people, empower them to have that back in their hands. And people are flocking to that model because they just want to be in control with what is theirs. And, I don't think that's too much to ask. And that's something that when we were hosts, we realized that that was super important for us, but it wasn't available.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. Now, I mean, that seems like certainly a major pain point, sticking point, and one that people may not even be aware of. So there's probably a bit of an education piece there. But I'm also curious, because you were kind of born out of being a host and identifying some of these pain points, what else were some of the things that you ran into in some of the more traditional platforms that you're now solving for?
Yeah, great question. I mean, I think a lot of the things that we experienced were, an excessive amount of dependency on the OTA to be able to make decisions, or to be able to get answers, or to be able to do things the way that we wanted to do them. So I'll give you a for instance. A lot of times the model, which I really believe, Michael, that the model is outdated. And that's why I brought up the phone book, and I'm going to bring up in regards to communication. It's great. I think that in my job as a CEO, what I enjoy most is what you and I are doing right now. I enjoy the conversation with you, means the most to me, but I love doing this with our hosts. They all get my cell number. I was talking to a lady this morning who had messaged me on Facebook, and she said, I just joined DirectStay. I need some help with some things. She said, I need tech support. And I said, well, what do you need? She told me. I gave her my phone number. And I said that we do things differently here because I want to stay connected with you. And I wanted to, I was operating the way that I wish somebody would operate with me. And not necessarily that I need a CEO's cell phone number, but that there would be somebody that would really take interest and help me out. And it would be really a really good connection. So, I told her we do things distinctly different. And right away, she booked an appointment, and I'm going to work with her tomorrow. So, I think that the big thing in bringing up that example, Michael, is that communication is super important. Super important. I think if you think about life, anywhere that something starts to go sour, whether it's your relationship, with a spouse, a child, a best friend in business, whatever it might be, it's always because there's been a disconnect in communication. And I think that
Mm-hmm.
that is such an important thing to have a great relationship and a great business. So what we decided to do is have a completely different model than the typical OTAs. And in doing so, our model allows somebody inquiring for a host property as a guest. The host and the guest have immediate conversation, so there isn't a demand on a booking in order to have that communication. So the host gets full information from the guest from the moment they inquire, and vice versa, and it starts building that relationship, which I think is important. So that was one of the concerns that we had, because as a host, we weren't able to communicate freely with somebody that was inquiring and asking us questions about things on our property until they made a booking. So we didn't get to really know them or get their information or that type of thing. And you had to be careful about what you say and all those things. So it was almost like it was a very highly restricted conversation. So on DirectStay, that's not the case. It's a completely wide open conversation from day one with somebody inquiring. And we're excited about that because, like I said, that builds a relationship and a connection. The other thing is that, we wanted people to be in control of all their policies, like a cancellation policy. We want them to have overrides on things. So let's say that there's a specific case, Michael, in a specific situation. Instead of calling up corporate and having to go through emails and all those things, we wanted to give each host the empowerment of an override, that they could set it to what they needed for that situation. And so on DirectStay, they have that empowerment. And I think that's real important to, once again, bring them the freedom in every area that they need to make the decisions which are best for their guests and also their business.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense to be in control and be able to set their own policies. And if something does happen, they need to issue a refund or a gesture of goodwill. It's right there. It's immediate. You don't have to go through the red tape and
Right.
jump hoops
Right.
and ultimately and typically go through some kind of arbitration panel or something like that. So
100%.
that makes a lot of sense to me, and benefits both parties in that transaction.
100%. Yeah.
Um, Now, you talked a lot about the things you like doing, having these conversations, making connections with new partners. I'm curious, like you had a launch recently. What's the energy like on the ground
It's great.
now that you've kind of gone public and you're fully up and running?
Yeah, thanks so much. Yeah, it's great. I mean, it's just being on your podcast has been a big boost, for me and for us just being here. It's exciting. The launch has been great. I will tell you, as the CEO, Michael, and for anybody out there that is starting a business or as a CEO, they are probably going through these things. Or if you're considering, getting your own business going, I found two things: that a lot of times that it's longer than what you expect. These are kind of the things that are important to realize, because I didn't realize this in the beginning, but I went through the process and it taught me this. It's more expensive than what you initially thought, and it takes longer. And there's so many moving parts with DirectStay that I was shocked at how many moving parts there are and how they have to fit intricately together so that the whole system works. I was shocked. I didn't realize that that was going to be the case.
Yeah. What I'll kind of ask two questions here.
Sure.
What was it that either happened on your journey or prior to that kept you going when you sort of realized, look, this is harder, it's more expensive, it's going to take longer, probably more rewarding as a result? But what is it that kind of kept you going or validated this idea along the way?
Yeah, great question. Great question. Without a hesitation or a doubt, Michael, it's the people that this ecosystem that DirectStay was built for. So the hosts and the guests. There was days when in your mind things are so difficult and there's so many costs that you didn't anticipate, and so many things can be negative in the process getting to the point of launch, so to speak. And it was just thinking about all the people that would get an opportunity to benefit from what we were putting together, and the guests that would have a great experience, and wouldn't wouldn't have to pay all those extra fees, and it was the host that wouldn't have to give up all those commissions and things like that, and we really wanted to make sure that the host and the guests both had an exceptional experience, and that's
Mhm.
what everything was all about. And so that it's really the people that this is for, Michael, that kept us going in regards to all the times that we got so much pushback and wanted to quit. And we just had to realize, because I believe that if you're building a business just for yourself, it's a lot easier to quit. But if you realize that the
Mhm.
vision you were given and the purpose that you have is much bigger than yourself, then that is really what continues to motivate and move you forward, is your purpose.
Yeah, I know you kind of when we were first talking, you mentioned like you were a host and you just identified these problems, and then that led to an opportunity and kind of growing this. Was there anything that you did in a prior life or growing up that led you to this entrepreneurship journey? Have you always been in hotels, hospitality, or short term? Talk to me about a little bit about your background
Sure.
and how that influences your decision making and how you brought this business to be today.
Sure, I appreciate that. Yeah, I think the where I am today came out of a lot of pain, and my history prior to getting into short term rental and in building direct stay was the medical field for a little over 20 years. And so basically, what I did was work with doctors on a daily basis, Michael, and I started to learn the process, and it is very similar to short-term rental. And I'll tell you a little story
Hmm.
that really impacted me and helped me with this. Is that I would get very close with doctors because I worked with them every single day, behind the scenes, and just spent a lot of time with them. And one of the things that they told me was, because we talk about their business, and they said to me, they said, "Breck, we really don't own our business." I said, "Well, what do you mean?" And they said, "Well, the insurance companies now dictate how we operate." So
Mm.
I had a doctor that told me that, he says, "I have a very sick patient who has cancer." And I met with the family, and they wanted my help, and I told them that in regards to the diagnosis and the specific codes and things, in order for that to be covered, I needed to get approval from the insurance company to make sure that that was allowable, even though you and I, meaning the doctor and the family, agree this is the best course of treatment. I need the approval from the insurance company to make sure that we can do this. And a lot of times we were denied, and I had to tell them that I still, the doctor would say, "I still recommend that you do this, but it's going to cost you a lot of money to do it because the insurance company won't cover it." And so what I realized is that, and it's very similar, like we're talking, Michael, about the dependency on the OTAs and really not having that freedom, is the doctors really started this. And I didn't know it at the time that I was going to get into short-term rental and have direct stay, but it was starting to be revealed to me that they were, it sounds really kind of crazy, but they were not operating as the doctor for their patients. The insurance companies were, and that was the clear language that I got from these doctors, like literally out of their mouths. And so, at that time, once I started to exit the medical field, I realized that things were completely different. And so it's very similar to the short-term rental platforms, that they don't necessarily have the full freedom to be able to operate their rental like they want to, but they do now with direct stay. They shouldn't have to be under those regulations and control of somebody else, and with direct stay they won't be. And in regards to my journey, Michael, in regards to an entrepreneur, is that it came out of the pain of working for somebody else for so
Hmm.
long. and there was so much pain there, not because I didn't like the employer or the companies that I was with. I knew inside of me that I had a purpose, and that I was supposed to be walking out and living that purpose with getting up every morning and living my purpose, not somebody else's purpose or that type of thing. And so, because there wasn't freedom there, once I finally was able to leave working for somebody else and do my own thing, there was such a great relief and appreciation for the freedom because of the contrast I went through, that I have such a value now for hosts that are working extra jobs instead of just their rental. My wife and I, being the owners of DirectStay, really what our heart is for people is that if you want to be a full-time entrepreneur and just have your rental businesses so that you can live the life that you want, we want to help you do that.
Mm-hmm. It's interesting to me, and I think you should be very proud of how you've aligned your personal values and mission with the three pillars in your core philosophy of your business of freedom, empowerment, and ownership. And I think it is empowering to people to have that ownership, and they actually very much are synergistic, those three pillars together, and really fundamental to your business. And so that brings me to want to talk about what you call the Netflix model.
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell me, like, I mean, I think I know why, because it speaks to those pillars, but tell me about that decision over kind of the industry standard per booking commission. What's the impact to the host's bottom line? I think you told me someone saved $55,000 and they weren't even, one of these major conglomerates with 10,000 properties.
Yeah, it was a gentleman that had a couple of lodges, and he said, Breck, he says, I saw your message out there on social media, and he said, I never thought to calculate what my fees are, because I think people just, they overlook it, but it's still very frustrating. So he said that when he saw our messaging out there, he said he stopped, took the time, and he did an evaluation and didn't realize that he was giving away $55,000 to the platforms in the per booking or the commission. And so once again, with our model, and you realize it and speak to it, Michael, and I appreciate once again the opportunity to be here to bring light really to the message is what's the most important thing to me, is that we didn't want to take anything from anybody in regards to what they work hard. They work really hard for their properties and to make sure their experiences are amazing for their guests. And we don't think that we should take anything from them in regards to their bookings or the hard work that they're doing. So we established a Netflix model where it's just a subscription. There's 3 subscriptions. Basically, it's set up according to your properties. You have 1 property, or you have 2 to 5 properties, or unlimited properties. And so just like going to Netflix, you pay a monthly, you get everything that's on Netflix. If you want to continue the next month, you can. If you want to cancel, you can. We don't hold anybody to anything long-term, because once again, that's not our model. Our model is freedom, that we want you to do the best you possibly can. And if you want to be with us, we love to have you. And if you want to do, something else or go a different way, we understand that as well. So,
yeah. Now, you also structured your model to only get paid after the host makes their first booking on your platform. Breck, that's a huge risk.
Yeah.
That's a massive risk. So what was your strategy behind that decision? And then how do you help the host drive that first booking? Because that really speaks to a consultative approach, the idea that you're partnering with them, that you were just speaking to. You want to help them be most successful, and that's a heck of a guarantee and a big risk that you're putting your neck on the line.
Yeah, thanks. I think, with a startup, Michael, it's important to, prove to the people that we're serving that the value and the solution that they're looking for, that they're going to receive that. And so that plays a big part of what we're doing in regards to, we wanted them to make money first before we made money. And so, I think that, your first booking is always the most exciting, that we had a lady that sent me a email yesterday. She lives in Pennsylvania. She has a lodge. And she said we got our first booking. She was real excited, and we came to find out that It was $500 that she got more in her pocket than if the booking guest would have went to one of the OTAs. And so we're excited about that. $500 for a business owner is a big deal. So we were really excited that she was able to receive that and call us up and it was really just real excited. And so, I think that's really what it's all about for us, is seeing those, seeing some real change and really putting money back into people's pockets. And that's, I think that's the simple thing too, Michael, when we think about helping somebody build an asset or a liability. Just the simple descriptions and what these things are is that assets are going to put money into your pocket. Liabilities are going to take money out of your pocket. The more assets you have, the more finances you'll have, and the more liabilities you have, a lot of times you're going to not be doing as well financially. So that's exciting for us, is to see these real life changes in hosts and things like that.
Mm-hmm. Now that you're live, and correct me if I'm wrong, but I think I heard your tiers are 1 unit, 2 to 5, or unlimited.
Correct.
Is there a sweet spot that you're finding where people kind of get it and it makes the most sense for them to jump over? Is it, kind of the 30 door mark, or how does the tiered subscription model either incentivize or help larger managers to switch from the percentage based model?
Yeah,
So I would think like the bigger you are, the higher the value you're going to get from your model.
correct. And that's how the model's set up too, is obviously the more properties you have, similar to like a Costco or something like that, people go and they get really bulk rate pricing. And so, if you bring 10, 15, 20 doors, and those type of things, that, it will cost you much, much less. But even, the single property for us now, Mike, we revamped some things in regards to the first of the year, and it's been going amazing, by the way, too. I mean, I'm not even concerned about, it's $39 a month for a host with one property, and that gives you all the tools on the ecosystem to run your individual property. So we've changed the model pricing to make it more affordable and beneficial for people, and we realize that that's important as a startup as well. And the outcome of that has been tremendous. We've gotten a really good response from people realizing that the price point is a better value for them. And so, I think that's an important thing too for CEOs or business owners too, is as you're getting your business going, there's a lot of, one of the words that my partner and I use all the time is that we pivot a lot. We make a lot of adjustments, and you have to do that according to the vision, and then also what's best for the customer, and do that a lot of times in a split second and make that decision. So
Yeah. Now you're going up against some giants, even Goliaths, let's say, with hundreds of $1 million either in revenue or investment. These are $1 billion businesses,
right.
And so I'm a host, and I've got 10, 50, 100,000 properties. How do I know I'm going to get bookings on your platform? Do I stay live on those major platforms? Do I fully jump ship and trust that I'm going to get the distribution? Talk to me a little bit about how you're actually exposing these properties and ensuring bookings.
Yeah, this is the question that I think is important for the entire marketplace to have. And it goes back to my original statement about the telephone book and being dependent on one place to be able to be found. So the interesting thing about the OTAs is, they spend millions and millions of dollars every month on marketing. The interesting thing that's important for people to realize, Michael, is that they market their platform. They don't market the individual property. And so that's the telephone example, is that you have to go to that one place to be found. And that's how guests have been conditioned. But, with all the different search opportunities now, ChatGPT, all these things, people are really waking up to, well, you know what? I want to get what I want to get, and I want it a specific way, and I want to be able to find it and just book that and get that taken care of instead of having to go through pages and pages of listings, pages and pages of a telephone book, right? And so, how do we do this? How do we compete with Goliath? How do we do that in a very efficient and effective way? Well, we do that by individually helping each host and property owner make their own footprint in the marketplace, and this is the game changer. And we do that by indexing and things of that nature. I'll give you an example, Michael. I know you're very well aware of this, but if you know, back in the day, you'd go to a library, they'd have a couple of computers on a kiosk. You'd
Mm-hmm.
have the author, or you would have the title of the book. There's this massive library. You want this book, it's real important to you. You have no idea where to find it. And then you just type into the kiosk exactly what you're looking for, and it tells you exactly where to find it. And you go, oh, that's easy. I'll just go right over here. Oh, there it is. I found my book. That's all we're doing. But we're doing that on an individual basis. And then here's the other thing, Michael, is that we empower the host to have their own blog generating marketing system so that they can start to build their own content in the ecosystem. And what does that do? Why is that important? Because it builds their brand, it builds their book of business, but most importantly, it helps them to be found. And here's the game changer, is that it doesn't matter whether DirectStay has 5 properties or 500,000, because it's not dependent on how many properties DirectStay has to be successful, or for the property owner to be successful. It's that they can be distinctly found with a footprint that the people that are looking for them in their area can find them. And that's what our focus is. It's just like being on the beach. The only way that you or anyone else will know that you were there that specific day or that moment is they'll see your footprint, right? You look back, as a kid, you love seeing, that's my footprint, but it left a mark. That's what we're helping people do, is to make a specific mark that is going to help them to be found. And what we're doing is we're connecting the local business owner, the host, and the guest together, and we're bringing them in and building community and wrapping this all around about everybody being found, so that everybody can if you're a business owner, make more money, whether it's local business or host, and then the guest, having those relationships already connected, have a great experience. They know where to go ahead of time. They've got recommendations. They've got discounts, all those things. It just makes the entire experience that much better.
Yeah. Are we talking about being found on Google, or are you talking about being found on ChatGPT?
Both
And yeah, and
have
so
to.
how's that changing the game, and where do you think that's going? I mean, I think we're at an inflection point where it could go any number of directions, but I'm curious, like, where you think we're going with AI and tech, and even getting into agentic booking that we touched on.
Yeah, huge, huge, huge stuff. Major topic here. So picture a highway. So a highway, the way that the past was, is the highway would only take you to one destination. That was the platform. Now what we've done is we've gotten a picture on a highway, we've gotten all these off ramps. Each and every off ramp is taking that guest who's traveling on the highway and taking them right to that individual host and that individual destination that they're looking for, really their experience, taking them right to it. And it's giving them multiple options to go to, instead of just one highway that takes you one place and you hope you're going to find your experience or your stay there. And so it opens up a huge opportunity for once again, for people, local business owners, to be found. We think it's just going to really boost the local communities where we're invested in. And it's the agentic commerce is really an interesting thing, Michael. I'm glad you brought that up, because
Mm-hmm.
that it you'll have your phone and you'll be able to speak into your phone or type into your phone exactly what you want, and it'll bring it up for you in a matter of seconds. And I think the light bulb went off for me when LinkedIn had sent out a article that Walmart made a decision to partner and with ChatGPT and set up this agentic commerce for their business. And what does that speak to me? That speaks to me that the number one retailer in the world sees a huge opportunity here and a huge trend change, that if they're going to make that decision, being super successful and doing it over a long period of time, I probably ought to stop and take a really good look at this. And
Mhm.
so we
Yeah.
did, because what is it doing is it's really empowering people to do things in the palm of their hand, get the things that they want, and to do it very, very quickly and efficiently. And I think that that's where we're going.
It, and is that kind of supported by the blog posts and creating that fresh content that
100%.
these indexes
100%.
like? Yeah,
Yeah.
that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. There's a lot of proprietary information in what we're doing. We actually haven't had anybody even balk at it. We have our hosts sign an NDA. We just want to protect them. We want to protect what we're doing. We think it's important, to be able to, protect the things that they really want to do. And so, but here's the thing I think is important for people too. Just because somebody tells you that they can help you with direct booking doesn't mean that they're invested in seeing that in seeing that really come forth for you. And what I mean by that is, I think one of the biggest misconceptions about direct booking, Michael, and why it's so important to talk about, is that people think that just having their own website is enough. And there's so many companies out there that say, we're happy to build a website for you, your own website, and those type of things. And that's like giving somebody a car without an engine. They can't go anywhere, because everything is going to come back to this. And this is the key to the last couple minutes about everything that you and I have been talking about. If you can't be distinctly found in the marketplace, you will always be dependent on the old way of things. And that is being found by the telephone book, which is quickly being outdated. So we have to really empower people to do three things: build their brand, build their own book of business, and most importantly, help them to make a distinct footprint in the marketplace so that they can be found and that they don't have to be dependent on someone else. I always use the old phrase of, there's two ways you can really do this. You can give somebody fish every day and make them dependent upon you, or you can teach them how to fish. They'll have an endless supply. Not only that, they can have their own fishing business, and then they can teach other people how to do the same thing. So it just depends on really what you want to do, what your mindset is. To be honest, I think that direct stay is for everybody? I would say no, because I don't know that not everybody wants that freedom and that type of thing. But for the people that do, that's who we're here for, and we want to help that become a reality for you in the short-term rental marketplace. But I think that there's still, there'll still be people that want to just rely on bookings and things like that, and never really own everything that they're doing and have that empowerment. And if you really think about what a booking is, Michael, you think about it from a farmer standpoint, the booking is the fruit. The booking is the harvest, but that's the effect or the outcome of everything. If we miss the importance of the seed or the seeding of
Hmm.
things, we can't have any fruit without a seed. So everybody's focused on a booking, but I would like to encourage people to focus more on the way of things, the way that's going to make you distinctly found in the marketplace, which is relying on a seed or your own blog or your own brand that's going to seed the marketplace with who you are and what you do. And I talked to a lady the other day that was super excited. She has a farm in Missouri, Michael, and she said, I have this vision. We were talking about her vision. I love talking about visions with people and helping them bring that to a reality. But she said, I want to turn this into a local attraction and have all kinds of events where we can teach kids and make this into this huge short-term rental experience where people can come and stay at a farm and learn about cows and all these things and all living life on a farm. And I said, That's perfect. So we want to help them do that.
Hmm. So, speaking of being found and having a vision,
Yes.
how are people finding you, and how are you acquiring new hosts and owners?
Yeah, great question. So obviously, we're going through a lot of the regular channels, social media, getting the message out through social media. We've had a great response from that. And one of the things that DirectStay is doing as well is we have our own blog, which is building content for the brand and obviously all the hosts, but most importantly, their blog is going to be individually for them to build their footprint, but we still need people to know that, we are America's host powered direct booking platform. And, the only reason why a host that's looking for that doesn't know that is because we haven't been found. And so we realize the importance of that. And that's another great thing, Michael, about what you do and helping people to be found out there. And I think that that's probably what I appreciate most. And I think that is our collaboration together is just in talking with you and realizing how powerful of a brand and in a business that you have and helping people do that. I think that it was just a perfect alignment for
Hmm.
me to join you in what you're doing, and I think that it is incredibly important for businesses and things to be working with you on the marketing side and to be working with someone that is ahead of things and that is trend oriented and AI oriented and all these things on where we're going. So I just wanted to make sure that that people really understand the things and the value that you bring with these podcasts and the people that are watching them and the importance of them getting in contact with you because we have a lot of opportunities as CEOs to be invited to different things, and it's important that you look at them and that they align with your vision and your brand so that you can collaborate with the right people. And so I just wanted to say, once again, that I appreciate being on the podcast and everything that you're doing and those type of things. I think it's vital for the business owner and the businesses out there that really want to excel in this time in the marketplace.
Well, thanks for that, Breck. I appreciate that. And, I think our values align in that, the foundation, the core of our business is just really enjoying helping people.
Right.
That's why I started Sendback Consulting, and was my love for technology and understanding that it can and does make things better for people and businesses, and that's its real sole purpose, is to make our lives better, easier, more efficient,
Yes.
and free us up for the things that we like to do and enjoy. um, and then along my way of working in tech and being in the Salesforce ecosystem for better part of, I guess, 15 years now, um, was I kept running into vacation rentals, hospitality, and the people involved. And I like those people. They're fun.
Right.
Often most of us are either operators or travelers ourselves. Most people love to travel. It's, aside from my family, skiing and motor racing, probably my biggest passion. So this was the perfect marriage. And I'm having a ton of fun with these podcasts, talking to people like you, understanding these different businesses, whether you're a host yourself, an operator, have a platform, or I call them a lot of like tentacle tertiary businesses, whether you're into cleaning, into maintenance, into additional experiences or amenities. I've been very fortunate to talk to a lot of business owners that are doing really cool, unique things in the space, and it's ever changing. And I think we're in 2026 now. I kind of got exposed in, I want to call it the heyday of merger and acquisition, kind of
Right.
13, 14, 15, when the Airbnbs and the Verbos of the world, the major platforms, really, really started taking off. And the concept of a short-term rental, and we just call it an Airbnb now. I mean, it's become the Kleenex of the traveling world.
Right.
Um, that notion just became very commonplace in both personal and business travelers' mindset as a viable option. So I'm stoked to be where I am now and have this opportunity to leverage some of the tools and tech that I've been enough to be exposed to and have at my disposal for our customers and clients. It's been a lot of fun. So thanks for that, Breck. I appreciate that.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And so where are you looking to get to by maybe end of Q1 or end of this year? I think you had mentioned you wanted to be around 500 hosts, and not sure what that translates into for number of properties.
So that's one of our goals. I think that one of the big things is that we want to make sure that the requests that we're getting from our hosts are being fulfilled as much as possible. One of the big things is obviously the PMS integrations with some of these other large companies that our hosts are currently using and want us to connect. That's a big thing for us is the PMS integrations, and so that's important for us to do. And then we're just constantly, always trying to be ahead of everything in regards to innovation and stay ahead of things. And I it's such a difficult place, Michael. Technology is changing so quickly. I mean, I know that you see it every day, like I do, and it's things are rapidly. It's not even the day of the laptop, how things maybe would be obsolete in a year, a couple of years. Now it's a matter of weeks. Things are changing so quickly with AI and just trying to keep up. So I think the big thing for us, Q1 is to make sure that everything is operating efficiently and effectively for our hosts and our guests. And we take on a daily basis, we take feedback. We're very thankful for the feedback we get from our hosts. And we take that to our developers and just want to make sure that if it's possible that we can make it happen for them, because we know that every request is something that will help them to be more efficient at doing business. And so I think the PMS thing for us is a big thing, Michael. Obviously, gaining more hosts in Q1 that are going to really understand the message and the value for themselves and the guests and the people they serve. And we're going to do a lot of outreach. We're going to do a lot more podcasts like this just to get the message out. But the big thing for us is the message and the hosts and the guests, and just bringing everybody together and helping them as much as possible get the things that they want in regards to freedom and those type of things for their own businesses. So
Yeah, it sounds like you're kind of recognizing and needing to move beyond kind of your social campaigns to a bit more of a targeted outbound approach. What would be kind of the main thing or challenge that you need to solve in order to get those prospects in the door? And are you hosting webinars or demos, or is it typically booking a calendar meeting and a proper onboarding process?
yeah, I think right now that's been the way of things, is that people will book a calendar appointment with me. I think really this is a good question, Michael, and to be really honest, with you, I think it's an important conversation and reason why I'm here, because I realize that there's areas that I'm not well versed in and those type of things, but somebody like yourself is. And so that I need to spend more time with you and to look at things, put everything out there, share the vision and what we want to do for 2026, and put it in the hands of somebody like yourself that can actually help really dial in and focus in on on the specific target that we want to be able to hit, so that it is effective. Because I think that the social media is very effective, but I think that what you're doing is going to be such a benefit for DirectStay, because it's going to help us specifically narrow things down and target the specific type of people that are looking for us. I'm not an expert on doing that right now, but I know that that's why you and I are connected, and that you can help us do that. So
Yeah, and we eat our own dog food here. We build our campaigns, and even to get podcast guests like yourself,
sure.
and it's certainly a lead funnel for us, and that is our bread and butter, is really nailing the ideal customer profile. Getting that contact information we have access to, some tools that would offer buying signals. So email delivery, that's kind of our bread and butter and things we do here. But I appreciate you saying that, and letting our listeners know some of the things that we do behind the scenes, beyond the podcast and the services we offer.
Sure.
And for our guests, for anyone out there listening, we do offer a 30-minute complimentary AI strategy session. And from there, we can talk about further consulting and ideas. But if you do want to be a guest on the podcast and you're in the vacation rental space, by all means, come on and we can get that going for you too.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great opportunity for CEOs and people of business and short term rental to really connect with you, Michael. I really do. So I'm grateful that you're offering this podcast, because I think the information is going to be beneficial for hosts and people that are in the industry and that type of thing. So I'm glad that you're doing it and taking the time, and I see it as a big value add.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Breck. And I appreciate your words of wisdom. You've got a lot of experience. You're off to the races with some huge success. What's a piece of advice that you would either give to maybe a new founder or property owner looking to build their own brand in the space? Or maybe a younger you, a new entrepreneur?
Yeah. Let the vision guide you, and don't ever give up, no matter how much resistance or contrast that you have. There's always a rite of passage for someone that has a purpose. You'll get several pushbacks according to your vision that seem like it's not going to work, or that it comes to test whether the vision is solid inside of you or not. And so I just want to encourage you, no matter what, the only way that won't come forth is if you quit and give up according to the contrast and the things that try and convince you that it's uncertain. Just continue to follow the certainty of your vision and the purpose that you have, and it will work. It will work out for you. Don't give up.
Have some conviction, follow the validation. Don't be afraid to pivot and revamp. That's what I'm hearing there.
100%.
And it's okay to fail.
Yeah.
That's the message that I hear a lot from entrepreneurs.
Yes.
It's like, I've fallen flat on my face multiple times in my life, even in this business. You learn, you dust yourself off, and you keep going. And I think the successful ones are the ones that understand that failure is part of success. And a lot of athletes, I'm finding.
Just going to say that. I was thinking as you were talking, and I know, being from Canada, right?
Yes, I've got Wayne Gretzky and Mario Lemieux over my shoulder.
I was just going to say that. I mean, how many? I think it was Wayne Gretzky that said, Michael, right, that how many shots, that he had, and Michael Jordan, right? They missed more than they made, but you had to take so many shots, and you would consider, what's the objective? It's to make a basket or to score, right? In hockey, and so the only way to do that is to slap shots and field goals and that type of thing.
Absolutely. So, yeah. And I think, that makes a lot of sense. Like, you miss 100% of the shots you don't take. Right. And, while I'm Canadian, I'm also, I'm actually a triple citizen. So I'm an American as well, and really enjoy baseball. And, when you talk to people who are not familiar with baseball and you say that you could win an MVP and you would only hit 3 out of 10 times, they'd say, "Excuse me?"
Wow.
And that's elite in baseball, right? If you're batting 300.
Right.
And so it just shows that, depending on context, failure, quote unquote, is actually very successful, and you just keep going. And so that's one thing I take away from athletics. And the other thing is, I'm very much into motor racing.
Okay.
And motor racing is all about looking at the data, looking at analytics, finding little fragments of increments. But what's cool about those little fragments of increments, not even tenths of a second, hundreds, thousands of a second, is they add up. They add up big, 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 big. And if you're a second a lap faster than your competitor over a race, well, now you're 2 minutes ahead of them by the end. And so, take the little victories is the lesson I learned from that.
Right.
They all matter, they all count, and they really work together to build success. So appreciate you sharing that. And also, they're great reminders for me to keep going in the tough times.
Yeah.
And remember your why.
100%. Yeah, that's important. Is the why. I was even thinking while you were talking about, Babe Ruth. I think that he struck out more than anybody else, but he was the home run leader for so long, right? And it's
Yeah.
just, it really is just you just got to keep moving forward. Keep moving forward. Don't quit. Keep doing what you were purposed to do, and success is just on the other side of fear and contrast, right? That try and keep you from getting to it. So
Yeah, you got it. Well, thank you so much, Breck. That's all the time we have for today on the Vacation Rental Insider. Appreciate all your time, wisdom, and words, and we want to wish you the best of luck as you continue your launch and going up against these
yeah,
Goliaths.
thanks so much,
I
Michael.
applaud you, and you should be proud of everything you've built and are going to build.
Yeah, thank you so much. Thanks again for having me. All the best to you, Michael, and obviously everyone that's listening. Hopefully they got a lot of value, and that they'll continue to move forward in the things that they're pursuing.